Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Creative Integration TV day here at the studio. I am excited to finally have uh, broken the code that I can unleash my next guest upon you all. I'd like to introduce everyone, Mr. Patrick Dearson. Oh man, I have been looking to this for what, 2 weeks now? I'm still cracking up over the delicious crackling that's happening behind you. Yeah, that was. Uh, I'm getting a no sound from Patrick again. Justin, I hope you're fucking messing with me. Is that? Can I just confirm, Cade? I'm gonna take a trustworthy source, Cade. Uh, can you hear Patrick, please? He's he, he's been here for all the past failures, so like I'll take it from him if this is actually working or not. Okay. Uh, I haven't heard from Cade, but I apparently now know how to fix it if that is the case. The weird thing is that I do see you live and on. I see. I can hear you myself, and I can. Ay, ay, ay. No, that's right. Okay. Interesting. Hmm. Checking again. Here, let's. This. I've had two other guests in between. I know that I had this working. But it can't be because I can hear you just fine. Oh, Lord. Why are you doing this to me? Audio settings, speakers, microphone. Yeah. Okay. Scarlet. And then here. It is a possible. At this point, I'm starting to consider that. Audio loop through properties. I've had two other guests in between. Thank you, Justin, for the proof. Uh, you've got to be kidding me. This time we're just gonna hang out and we're gonna enjoy the pork cracklings, the chicharrones right behind you, temporarily, because I'm gonna figure this out and this is going to work. I am. This. Oh my God. Let's see. Nope, that's fine. Audio settings. Oh, this is hilarious. Almost. Can anybody else hear that tone? Can you hear that tone? You can't hear this. There's, yeah. Oh, please. Okay, so as soon as I get this to work, it'll be working. System. Okay, so as soon as I get this to work, Jesus. System. Properties. Scarlet. Default. Patrick, say something for me. Patrick, say something for me. You know what? I'm starting to feel. Thanks, Cade. I'm starting to feel bad for all those PAs and ADs that I have pestered over the years. What do you mean you don't have that lower third ready? And where's that content? Where's the package for the next segment? Because the whole hosting a show and being the tech and the talent all at the same time, very stressful. Very stressful. Well, actually, no. This is a separate venue from the house. This is, yeah. Well, actually, no. This is a separate. I, I almost want you to play some music in the background. So, yeah, just some noise so I can, I mean, I'm happy to hear your dulcet tones, or maybe put the pugs to howl. Oh. Yeah, just some noise. I can hear that, and it's great. You have got to be getting Scarlet for. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. What I'm not understanding, why is it that I can see your levels? What I'm not understanding, why is it that I can Advanced? See your levels? A loop through, yeah, this is. Oh, that's nice. No, I don't have you muted. I don't have you muted anywhere. Let's try. It's not my microphone. Lovely. Lovely. I can hear you perfectly. I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, that is working. Let's try another device. No, I don't see you. No, I've had it. 4282. Yeah, you just hang right there where you are. It's perfect. Ah, Lord. Monitoring and output. Yeah, all that is active. Everything is as it should be. I should be able to hear you. People, actually, other people should be able to hear you. You shouldn't just be my imaginary friend. That's what I'm trying to say. Actually, other people should be able to hear you. Because I can hear you just fine. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Let's do a. Yeah. Slight change. Let's try. Oh, very fitting, sir. That is a very fitting background for you. Oh, very fitting, sir. That is a very fitting background for you. Vegas, baby. Let's change. Vegas, baby. What if, by any chance? Hello. You have. Say something for me, Patrick. Yeah, I hear you, but say something for me, Patrick. Yeah, I hear you. I'll leave that entirely up to you, but we can give. That's the thing. I am not sure. Why is this happening? I haven't changed anything. USB. Doink. Okay. That's my mic. And let's check this again. Fun. Ooh, nice. Yeah, tell me about your dreams, Patrick. Tell me. Yes, please. Whatever's gonna take the longest, just so that I can have some test audio. Well, all good things in life start and end with Justin Chatham. Seriously, did that happen? Because I had to resubmit. I had to resubmit for the BP. Seriously, did that happen? Because I had to resubmit. I had to resubmit. My problem was when I as soon as they gave me the option, I applied. But that's before they had everything kind of figured out. So there was no instructions on the website for how to fill out the form. Uh, everything kind of figured out. So there was no instructions on the website for how to fill out the form. Right. Yeah, that's gonna be. I mean, in my case, I'm basically a self-employed, and while they had said, yeah, you can apply, the workflow for properly applying as a self-employed or as a no employee corporation or entity was not available until last week, or at least not properly documented, for that matter. Yeah. Oh, I'm not even counting on it. For those who are joining us now, I've been having all kinds of technical difficulties with the streaming service. So give me 1 second. I'm going to turn this off and try again. Just stop the stream and restart it and see if. Because I'm seeing all the levels coming through you, and technically I'm sending those levels out. Whenever you speak, I see the bars going out. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. So, stopping now.
As is?
I can. So the video is fine. The problem is the audio. The problem that I'm having is the patching the audio through the system is the part that is not happening.
Yeah, here. It's bizarre.
Throw me a couple lines there.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Oh,
Hopefully.
I think we got it.
Did we?
Throw me a couple lines there.
Testing. 1, 2.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, I'll read you the emails I'm getting right now because it's time to enjoy Harry Belafonte radio.
It's working now. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you first to Patrick for hanging out, and for the third time.
What are you doing? I'm in the middle of reading my email.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So,
Sorry, Mr.
Belafonte
Belafonte.
radio, one of your favorites. This is a thing from Pandora. Never mind. Go ahead.
So thank you for everyone who's been hanging around. Thank you, Patrick, so much. Finally, after multiple weeks of attempting to have my honored guest, Patrick Dearson, is finally with us, and we're able to hear him. So again, Patrick, thank you so much for
Thanks
for being
here,
here.
guys.
All right. So first things first. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, I know who you are, and most people. I like to think that most people know who you are, but then again, you do run a bit of a covert operation. So in a way, I'd like to, in your words, if you will.
Trying. My name is Patrick Dearson. I am the owner of The Activity, which is a production design firm. And we, of course, most people know me as a lighting designer because that's obviously where I started. I started in the business back in 1993, roughly, and became a freelance lighting programmer after doing some time at Group One Limited and Clay Packey as their United States technical support specialist, and then went on to become a freelance programmer. And subsequently, as most of the careers go, so one thing leads to another, and ultimately became lighting designer, and then started to work in other areas such as video, scenic, staging, and so on. And now I'm primarily a full production designer as opposed to just handling lighting these days. And the activity as company is primarily tasked with working with creative directors to create legitimate production designs, as opposed to just coming up with the cool concept and handing it off to a production manager who gets stuck holding the bag. We are the ones that are tasked with being that intermediary where we work with the creative team. Um, Although we are, of course, capable of being creatives ourselves, we actually have been making a large push to try and stay out of the creative lane and not be dealing with that because there are so many different creative directors out there.
Right.
And we've done a major shift to just be that intermediary to bring creatives' visions to life, where you have people, we often say everybody's got cool ideas. That's not the hard part of anything in production. Actually executing it is the hard part. So we deal with the true production design and engineering of how these wondrous creative visions come to life.
Certainly. There's if we can, I'd like to poke a little bit into your getting to where you got started, if you will. So we're originally from, because you have this awesome bit of an attitude that I think comes with from your very basic upbringing. First of all, I think.
My attitude. Uh, my attitude is such that how to describe it. It's a little more tough love. It comes from a standpoint of needing to execute and not really having the luxury of giving excuses for anything. I think is the best way to put it. Um, that's I have a lot of things that have influenced me throughout the years. Obviously, starting with my childhood, and not having the easiest of childhood lives growing up,
Sure.
and just learning a lot about various industries and how things need to get done. I've certainly had a colorful career and colorful upbringing, and being influenced by a lot of different things, certainly on the government and military side of life, as well as on the streets slightly. I did a significant amount of work in the early 90s doing a lot of the illegal raves for the mafia families in
That's
New York.
cool. The true old school.
And yeah, it's very old school. And when you do that, and you are put in that upbringing. In my particular instance, I was very well liked in handling that job, and was quickly put in a position of being the responsible one and having to deal with a lot of the money collection in those things. So that in and of itself was a very different education and a very different set of circumstances is to how you have to execute a job and see it all the way from start to finish. And so it's a very different style and a different education that isn't born and bred from the arts
Right.
side of life. It's most definitely born from the more business side of how things get done. And of course, what you refer to, my attitude tends to reflect that. It's a little more business oriented. It's a little
Yeah.
more making sure that the client is taken care of and that the needs are being taken care of, and that there is responsibility being upheld to the execution of the process. And what I think what that ultimately drives is the fact that we tend to be a bit more budget conscious than most in making sure that we're not straying and
Right.
we're not the cause of increasing a budget. We're always looking at making sure that our client's business interest is the foremost reality, and that business interest includes executing things over the top and looking great
Certainly.
without having to go back up the mountain and getting more money. And that's a large part, I think, of our integration with creative directors in executing their vision and helping keep that on track. we've all seen plenty of projects where you won't have that level of oversight and a professional understanding of execution. A lot of times it'll be left strictly to a vendor to execute, where a vendor is simply there to just keep working, and the bill is going up because they're just there to get things done that they're being, and a creative team not coming from production doesn't necessarily know the financial ramifications of what they're creating or causing until it's too late.
Right.
It's not to say that they're doing it maliciously or with malintent in any stretch of the imagination. They just usually uneducated as to that process and what things cost, as you.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I'm happy that you're talking about all of this is because in full disclosure to the people that are watching, like, I've worked under you a number of times now, and out of sorry.
Next to me, not under me.
Well, yes, thank you. Under your under, I don't know how to put it, but definitely at least hired by you, which is a compliment in itself, knowing the kind of productions that you usually work with. And every time the execution style has been particularly, let's call it just precise. There's the paper, it goes all the way from the paperwork to the initial phone conversations down to, the on-site operations. You seem to always maintain this almost military-like precision that it's part of the reasons why I personally find working with you so dear.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and... Sorry?
Not for everybody.
Well, I'm gonna switch a view here real quick, and I just want to go over to your website for a second, theactivity.com. I am sitting currently in what is traditionally your normal splash page, the activity.
Different, a little different right now. At the moment.
Right, but currently you have the attention freelance crew personnel section going up, and I wonder if you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
It is what it is. Right now, we are extremely busy with nothing that is within our normal lane, and this is a little bit of a change because up until I'd say last week, early last week, we actually had projects moving forward. When the whole pandemic started, we made an immediate shift to try to help our clients pitch to their clients. We realized that there were so many cancellations happening. I mean, we had tons of cancellations ourselves. We most certainly weren't immune to it, but we did see this coming, and we saw with some of our projects that were a little farther away, particularly in the corporate sector, that we were able to pitch to them their ability to shift to virtual. I think we saw a lot of announcements. Nobody had necessarily done it yet, but you started getting announcements coming out. Apple was switching to a virtual event. Microsoft was switching to a virtual event. All of these companies were going to do that. None of them were particularly gearing up to do anything more grandiose than what we're doing right now. The plans that were coming out of these companies were such that they were kind of looking at just doing virtual Zoom meetings and not really taking it to the next level.
Right.
And so our immediate shift was, we need to do this, but if it's going to be online, if it's going to be within that video streamed medium, we want to be utilizing the latest technology that's available for that. So we immediately started shifting into working with our clients to help them recreate these experiences that were imminent. The shows are coming, and shifting them into newer technologies, a mix of our current technologies and some hard scenic work, along with extended reality and all of the camera tracking and type stuff.
Nice.
And so immediately we decided we were going to become subject experts in how they shot The Mandalorian. and we used that as the basis of what we would be bringing to the table for clients. And we did a massive push with that. That all paid off in the end. Albeit all of these productions that we were setting up chose upon their own selves to push to later dates, which was great because it's now offering us the ability to build and scale the events much bigger at a more quality level. But basically, for the immediate moment, everything drops away, and
Right.
we immediately pivoted into what our other opportunities were, because we're very realistic about where the entertainment is going to be for quite some time, and so we're looking at some different avenues. First and foremost, throughout the entire process when we were going through this, one of our biggest concerns and pushes was to put people back to work.
Right.
At our level, we're doing work, so we're working directly hand in hand with our clients. But our production electricians or programmers, all these people they don't have a spot. We've got no place to put them. So it's about generating something new for them.
Certainly.
So that became the immediate push, and it was more about other people. I mean, it's probably altruistic, and I don't really like to say it that way, but at this point, it's about trying to help others.
Yeah, because I know personally, a number of, again, not necessarily up on the design and logistics level, but more of the, stagehands and other, even lighting programmers that have decided to take on essential worker jobs, looking for their next paycheck, too.
Absolutely, and quite frankly, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's one of those things, and I had, before the pandemic hit, I was overseas, and working on some productions that were getting affected by this, and ultimately was coming back to the States earlier than anticipated, because ironically the next hotel I was meant to check into in the Middle East was hit with coronavirus and put on a lockdown, and there was a lot going on there. And so I came back to the U.S. and was seeing what was about to happen. It didn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out that things were going to get pretty detrimental for the live event industry.
Yeah.
And I was very vocal about it in a lot of online community conversations that, people needed to start looking at other alternative streams of revenue for themselves immediately. You have to do it, because firstly, we don't know how long this is going to last, and I do maintain that if you're not in the top 10 percentile of the business, you are going to sit a hell of a lot longer than everybody else, because this is going to come back trickling in, and the top people are going to be back to work first. It just stands to reason. And this is born and bred from experience. I went through this during 9/11, when New York was completely. We lost everything. I felt the ground shake twice that day, and just, aside from all the other horror that was going on, also had the crushing reality of what we would be dealing with as New Yorkers in New York production at that time, in the weeks that followed, and saw that it really did go away. We were in the midst of massive, thriving broadcast work all throughout New York City in the 5 boroughs, and that just dried up immediately. There were a trickle of special event things that would happen in New York, but that was it. And it was really a huge excuse, particularly for the Los Angeles producers, the Hollywood-based producers, to take all of their productions back to Los Angeles, which they did. Excuse me. And the New York entertainment community never recovered from that, ever. It never went back the way it was. It's certain better, and there is more production in New York, but not the way it was just prior to 9/11, because it was really cranking. So having lived through that and seeing what it did, I saw a lot of people and had a lot of friends that didn't make it out, and they're no longer in the business because of it. They
Oh,
had
wow.
to seek ways to feed their families because they didn't really have the ability. Um, they weren't necessarily traveling workers. A lot of these people were Broadway based. A lot of them were just strictly television based. Um, straight New York stage hands, and the work just wasn't there to support it in the following, I would say, months, but years after.
Sure.
And so it did drive a lot of people out. And unfortunately, the hard reality and tough love to this is I think we're going to see this again quite drastically,
Yeah.
and we're going to see it on a global level. 9/11
Was
for our
almost
industry,
localized,
it was a
basically.
fucking deathbed, man, for a very small group of us who were directly affected. And now this is a very different situation. We're looking at
Yeah.
a global issue in that regard.
Yeah,
So
aside from the, yeah, I think that aside from just being the fact that 9/11 was like we said, basically a localized incident where affected that like, sure, we had issues with travel back in the day and there, a variety of other logistics, but primarily for New Yorkers had it the hardest. And I the second that the city went, hey, we're gonna come back, we're gonna reopen, we're gonna be stimulus packages for just about everything, doors were opening up, and you could put a production, try do your best, if you will, to fill out a theater within a couple of weeks, versus the reality that we have long term with this particular pandemic. I think it's that other face of that coin, where we don't know how long it's going to be before we can fill up a theater again, sit less than
no,
6 feet away from someone else.
yeah, and of course I've been honored to be on a lot of these Zoom conferences where really have all the leaders of industry involved in having these discussions as to how we bring this back, and how do you phase it, how do you enforce it. One one of the biggest issues for all live events is what we have propagated over the years. The live event. It's meant to be wild. It's meant to be loud and raucous and very social. And I made an analogy the other day on one of these calls when somebody was asking about it, and I said, I'm a huge Metallica fan. When I have a general admission ticket and Master of Puppets starts playing, it's straight into the mosh pit. I don't really care who's standing there. You can't really control that crowd. I know what it does to people. You can't anticipate that people are going to police themselves when you are inciting them to excitement, to have a great time.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges that they have to overcome. And I think we're going to see a very big shift in the style of security that we have at these events as we open them up, because it's gonna require a certain level of tact and force, which go hand in hand when you're dealing with that, because no longer are the days where one of your security guards is a 65-year-old lady who's swimming in her maroon suit jacket saying, "Excuse me, sir, you can't smoke in here." Like, right. She's not getting the job done, right? So you these guys that are a little more overbearing, but in the same regard, not so overbearing where they're creating major issues, and you need professionals that know how to do that. So I think there's a big step up that's going to end up happening. That's going to be well beyond your average CSC security employee, and that's just one aspect of this. There's a million aspects to it. And the concept of taking people's temperatures and all of these various things, and people they will find a way around it, or things will shift, or how do you enforce that properly? You're going to keep 10,000 people on the street before you open doors that are cooking in the sun, and then expect their temperature that's not supposed to be over 99.
Wow.
How do I get around it? Well, I'm just going to bring a cool pack and slap it on my head, and then just before I go through the FLIR camera, I'm going to look like I'm frozen. There's so much to it, and it's not as easy as a lot of people have thought.
Actually, you have a bit of or I like to think that you probably have a really interesting take, perhaps, on some of this Big Brother technology that's out there, and the militarization of some of that. What do you think the world might? And this is purely speculation. I'm warning everyone about. But what do you think the next 6 months to a year look like uh, for for the world in general? Again, purely speculative. Uh,
You know, this is the area of the pool that gets speculative and wildly conspiratorial. And
sure.
I'm not a-
I remind you that we're on Facebook Live, so there's nothing more speculative
Yeah.
and conspiratorial.
You know what? This topic has come up, and it's not the first time I've been asked. And one of the first things I say is, you know, everybody was sleeping when the Patriot Act was signed after 9/11, and you know, this came up in a topic when we were discussing the concept of an app. You know, China has done this app that you're certified that you don't have this, and you can test it, and you can go into certain areas, but you have to show this code on your phone and so on. And you know, here in the States, immediately it's, oh, I'm not doing that. That's, you know, everybody freaks out. Do you have any idea what the fuck you gave away in the Patriot Act? Like, it's mind-boggling what level of rights were relinquished.
Yeah.
And to this day, the average person just walking down the street, conducting their lives, isn't necessarily actively affected by that. You know, have you been affected? You've absolutely been affected by that, whether you like it or not. But the level of that effect on your daily life and the impact it has had has really been nominal for the most part.
Yeah.
Your freedom to walk around, present sequestration aside, your freedom to walk around the world and do what you do hasn't really changed. And I think that the reality of that sort of, you know, big brother worrisome nature about it is smart, and you know, things need to be kept in check. I think that, you know, things probably should have been kept more in check when they were signing the Patriot Act, and there's a whole ball of wax that went with that and how that all went through unchecked. But I think we're going to end up with the new reality of technology that gets utilized to be able to get us through these events and get back to events. And I think you're just going to have to opt in at a certain point. You know, nobody's going to force you to, say, download an app and do that. But they're going to force you not to come in the building if you don't have this thing that proves that
no one's coming with a stick to tell you, hey, download this app. But there's definitely going to be a number of carrots available that are like, which of these carrots am I going to take that app for? So
you know, I think you're gonna certainly have a certain section of the population that revolts to it and says, I'm not taking part of that, and you know, they'll stay home.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be that simple.
Let's go ahead and shift to a more colorful topic, if we will.
Before we do, because I completely went off the rails there. The reason this all started was you were talking about the splash page on the website, and so my whole take to that was that what I was really trying to say was we ain't that busy in the entertainment side of life. So the last thing I was really worried about was what the fuck the website was doing. But I know that we get phenomenal amounts of web traffic, thank God. We're blessed with that. So we just made the decision that, well, why don't we just change that splash page over to something that helps everybody instead of forcing them to go through a whole damn site to get some bit of information that we're trying to cryptically trick everybody into marketing and having to look at all that shit.
Yeah.
Just throw it up there and give everybody something that will give them some guidance and help to get to whatever assistance they might be able to get to. And so what's up there is the WME PDF of listing all of the available SBA CARES Act grants, everything related to the arts and gig workers that can help with potential economic relief. And
Yeah.
we just wanted to get that out there for everybody and have sort of quick and easy access to it, as opposed to trying to do a Google search and hunting for it, or not even knowing about it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
we devoted that for
It's a
however.
great resource. I was looking at it the week that it went live, just because I like to look at my friends' web pages at least every month, and I was like, whoa, this was nice. Quite a lot of useful information there for those who are still perhaps poking about for like where may I be able to like apply or find even I would say, like, because I've done a little bit of research into some of the links that are in that document. Even though if you go down those rabbit holes, even the ones that may have dried up already, because again, I've been trying to have this interview with you for 2.5 weeks now. Thank you,
And how
Obi.
changed in 2.5 weeks, you know, like.
Yeah, so a lot has changed, but the information is there. Yeah.
It's such a fluid situation, and it feels sometimes that it is insurmountable to try and just get your head above water in some of this. And anything we can do to help each other, certainly with the technology that we have, I feel is the best use for it. And right now, the least useful thing is a website with a bunch of pretty production pictures on it.
Well, I will actually segue that with another website that I didn't know that you had. I knew about the services because we briefly spoke about this back at LDI, even though we had very little contact because I was just stuck at the Splinter show. And but I want to talk about the farm, which is this was not even planned, but the I love how this is actually the perfect time to talk about this. The fact that you have a fully available pre-visualization suite in the heart of Las Vegas, which as soon as it opens up, will be, I guess, accessible. But if you're looking for a pre-visualization studio, you want to tell us a little bit, because it's more than just that. It's not just a previs studio from the way that I understand it.
So the farm is actually the activities offices. We have we have two rooms. We have a large room and a small room that we've turned into pre-visualization studios, and they're set up to accommodate various sides of creative teams that are coming in and working. But excuse me, the concept of the farm is about the experience of pre-visualization. It's not as much about the pre-visualization service. And one of the things we looked at over the years was how successful, or lack thereof, previs studios were. We really didn't see many that have survived the test of time. And as a singular business, I don't feel it's necessarily sustainable, particularly now that a lot of this pre-visualization software is either really priced competitively or free.
Certainly.
We started like Randomate 3D, which at this point is, I think, the leading or most used pre-visualization software, regardless of what you may technically think about its visual presentation. Nothing beats free, and for utilitarian purposes, it's really great. And you can make it look very good. The more effort you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Certainly.
But we looked at this, and I said, when a kid with a Surface tablet can do this for free, I fail to understand how it's worth creating a previs studio, because it's really not about the technical side of it. And of course, doing it on the professional end, you've got to amp that up and be able to provide the professional side of it. But we really started thinking about the experience of it, and my previs usage goes back to the first version of WYSIWYG, and having prevised in so many different environments over the years. In the early 2000s, I was a huge proponent of pre-light studios in New York and San Francisco, and I used them quite heavily, and it was a wonderful experience. And they really elevated the ability and experience of previs. It was really great. And then slowly you started seeing a shift where people started using hotel suites, and they trudge all the equipment in and set up mobile systems. You had these new mobile road cases with all that previs stuff built in. Or we would go into recording studios and rehearsal studios, and while the band was rehearsing in one studio, we would have previs happening in another studio, and then it became the corner of the warehouse, and we just sort of started seeing it degrade over time. And it got to a point where whenever we were doing this and the artist wanted to be involved, we were rather embarrassed as a production at the location of doing this previs and the way it looked, and it wasn't polished. Nobody really wants to walk Shakira through the PRG warehouse. No slight to it, but your artist doesn't want to do that if it isn't a professional presentation. It's not secure from a security standpoint. It's not secure from a paparazzi standpoint. It's not secure from a safety standpoint. You don't want your artist possibly tripping over cables.
Certainly.
So you go to great lengths to make sure that's not happening on stage. You sure as hell don't want it happening, before they get to the venue. So we started looking at this and realizing, well, not only do we have all this equipment that we utilize for our own purposes, but we have the ability to provide a completely elevated experience. And so why don't we start looking at doing the concept of a luxury previs suite that just caters to the experience and is somewhat technologically agnostic. And it was all about, how do you want to spend the few days prior to your big push on site?
Sure.
Where you're going to get with the real thing, where you're going to be working 20 hours a day in a cold, dark arena, busting your ass, eating poorly, not taking care of yourself to get that push to opening night. We've all been there. We know what goes on. We know what that feels like. That's not really great for creativity.
No, it's not.
And the last place that you're going to be creative is in the corner of your vendor's warehouse.
Yeah.
So when you're here at the farm, you are able to be completely relaxed. You are able to have amenities afforded to you that you don't have to think about it. We have a meal plan with a private chef that if you want to opt for that, your meals are taken care of for you, and it's completely custom designed for your desire. The space itself is meant to be comfortable and creative, and even our we have an outdoor area that's just a beautiful little garden area to be able to retire to and have a cigarette, chill out, take a phone call outside away from everybody else, whatever. Just take that break. We also have the ability where we have a gym and spa on the premises,
right?
And pools. So if you're going to take your hour lunch break and you want to just sit by the pool for a bit and decompress and then come back in fresh and work, you can do that. You want to come in an hour early and get a workout in,
sure.
And then come in, and we have full showers and everything. You can be freshened up and have a great work day. It's just meant to evoke creativity, try and alleviate the stress of all the other logistics that a design team has to think about, and just take that little nitty-gritty stuff out of the picture for them, put them in a good headspace, allow them to do their most creative work, and then hit the bricks, get into that venue and do your big push. But you're going in there much more fresh and feeling much better about yourself, and do better work. So that's
I think the only downside, if you will, of the farm is that if you spend 2-3 days in here right before going into a production, and you are the one going on tour with this production, but like, can we just go back to the farm? We need to reprogram a couple songs. Just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're happy to have them back. It's really
a bit of spoiling going on. That's beautiful. Yeah, I've
but
been
it's
scrolling through this.
designed so that if people want to do their own files, they can bring their own files in. If there's another previs service that they want to use, you can do that.
Right.
You know, we have like TeamViewer apps set up on all of the machines so that any service provider a client is using, that provider has unfettered access to the machines. They can get in there and service the client remotely. You know, we really do try to stay completely agnostic in that regard, so that, you know, we're providing the place and the experience.
Yeah.
We are not trying to compete in the lane of making really cool previs files per se, because quite frankly, I'm not going to lie, we're not good at it. There are people that are so vastly more advanced at doing that.
I mean, there's a specialized market for that, and I'd say that I know 20-something-year-olds that literally that's all they do. They're these little propeller heads that they just know how to optimize the 3D model to make it look just almost as close to the real thing as possible. But the reality is that you know, even it doesn't matter what level of design you're doing. When you're working with an artist and the artist says, "Hey, I want to come and see what you're working on," which is not uncommon. You know, there's nothing like bringing them to someone's basement, or like you say, the corner of a warehouse that is loud.
Yeah.
If it's one of these A-listers, you'll see things like, "Hey, we need to shut down the warehouse for X amount of time unknown until the artist leaves because he doesn't want to be bothered or seen." Yeah, totally. It's brilliant.
That becomes a pain in the ass. You know, it is that security issue, and it is just about comfort. And it's also the fact that in a comfortable setting like this, if we've had this quite often where when your artist is involved in wanting to collaborate in that process, they're going to come in, sit, they're going to watch something, they're going to give input, and then they're just sitting on their phone, dicking around for an hour while you produce the next song, and you don't have anything to show them. Well, now the artist can go sit by the pool and hang out in the sunshine, have a cocktail, relax. They can get all the work done. They can be set up in another studio and being productive themselves in another. And one of the biggest say selling points to how the physical nature of the farm is set up. An artist is able to come onto the property, which is a gated, secure property with a security team. They're able to get into the property and then drive right up to the entrance. So they're not having to walk through any public spaces where they may be seen or paparazzi or anything like that. So it's almost like a double layer of AAA access to get
nice
asset in.
Perfect.
It's nice, it's secure, and it's literally 2 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. You know, you're really going off one block off the Strip.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically across from Cosmo, right? Basically, the Vdara. Yeah. So, great location. Well, we covered a little bit about you, a little bit about the activity, what your the efforts or the ideology of the things that we're trying to push, as far as, or at least speculation on what we think or how we think the industry is going to come back. I'm very happy that we run into the farm. It's a shame that it's technically closed at the moment. Not necessarily closed, but unreachable. Or actually, what's the situation right now in Vegas?
It's completely reachable. I mean, we have not had anybody reaching out because everything's shut down, obviously. Right. So we have that need, but we have a full plan in place to, obviously ensure, sanitary conditions.
Well, of course.
If you needed to come in and use the facility.
Right.
But I mean, Las Vegas is in a state now. Obviously, all non-essential businesses are closed. This is primarily related to retail space because they don't want people commingling. Um, and it's a ghost town. It's really quite crazy to see. It is truly apocalyptic to watch Las Vegas Strip in such a state of quiet. The birds are chirping, and you can hear a pin drop in most of these locations. Casinos. It's pretty wild.
I'm actually trying to pull up your. Here you go. Your videos around Vegas, which are, uh, they've recently become available on YouTube. Here, let me come here for a sec.
So when this started, one of the things when I moved to Las Vegas, one of the things that drove me nuts was I was used to cycling every day. When I lived in Manhattan, I lived right on the West Side Highway, and I would cycle over the West Side Highway bike path, and I'd do 10 or 15 miles a day in the morning. And coming to Vegas, you couldn't really do that with any sort of grace just where I'm located, because the roads to cycle around here they're very populated. There's a lot of crazy drivers on the road. Ironically, most of them are California license plates. And it wasn't really conducive to cycling right out the property and hitting the streets. This happened, and everything's shut down, and it is glorious to cycle around
I
Las
bet.
Vegas. Turned it into my personal cycling spot, and you can go all over the place. I was fortunate enough to start doing this right when they shut everything down. They shut it down. I was like, I got to see this. I just want to check it out. So I went for a ride, and it was so creepy. I pulled my phone out and just started recording it, and it became a daily thing. So every day I would go to a different casino, and because I started it so early, the casinos didn't even really grasp what they were dealing with, and the properties were all open. There was just nobody there, and
Right.
you had security teams. The security teams weren't even really doing anything. They were just like making sure you weren't trying to break in.
Sure.
But you could go all around the property. That was tooling all around the Bellagio, and just kind of hanging out. It was really quite beautiful. The beautiful trees and gardens, and the fountains weren't running. It was just pristine blue water, and it was really cool. And so I started recording, and I pretty much hit just about every major casino property over the course of a week. And now it's a very different situation. They've gotten, I think, a little hip to the fact that I'm tooling around their properties. They started putting up gates and vehicles. And I think the
Sure.
Luxor sent the tactical team out the other day in a pickup
Oops.
truck that were riding behind me.
Wow.
Well, I wasn't even in a weird location. They just came out of nowhere and literally followed me for like a mile around for some reason. But yeah, it's really weird and very cool, because fingers crossed we will never see this again,
Hey,
and this will be the time you see Las Vegas this
it's
quiet.
I'm kind of jealous in a way, because I think the level of stock footage that you can get from this.
Oh
Uh,
my God, everybody's saying that. You're like, man, if you could just get out there with a Phantom cam and really just get some crazy shots going up and down the strip, this is the time to do it, because it is absolutely bizarre.
yeah, I mean, I'm playing it here next to us, and it's just some of the shots are just impossible,
Because
literally impossible.
the shut down, to get the strip shut down the way you want it to do filming is such an endeavor. I mean, we filmed the Bourne, the latest Bourne movie here. I forget, not the Identity, but whatever the last one was.
Yeah,
Major scenes on the Las Vegas Strip, and to shut those down on the overnights and deal with all of that, and the post production work you have to put in to edit a lot of the background stuff out, and digitally remove that, and make it look quieter than it is, whatever that may be, is such a bear. And right now, be cranking out all sorts of content for it.
yeah.
It is shame. It would be great to do that.
The
But I'm not the only one documenting this. There are a
right,
lot of filmmakers that are out there that have been taking a lot of
yeah.
shots.
I
And I,
think
we
the only downside is that the strip being so close to the airport, it's a no-fly zone for drones. I'm pretty sure, so
yeah,
you couldn't just go like, hey, I'm gonna go in there and take a 30-minute,
it would
drone
be great
footage moment.
to have a fly through of it. But that being said, this if there was ever a time to get a variance, this is the time to be able to pull it
Right?
off because McCarran is dead.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
not one plane an hour flying out of here, whereas it's usually one plane every 90
that,
seconds.
yeah, insane.
So it's a very very different area. I think I have some video footage of McCarran Airport up there. I have tentative plans tonight to go out cycling with my neighbor late and to film the strip at night, which we haven't had a chance to do yet.
Yeah. Man, I wish that we had like, so, uh, I wish that we had the opportunity to talk about like an ongoing project. I'm pretty sure that anything that you are probably working on right now, because I know you're always busy. You're one of those. Like myself, I am actually somewhat
Really
busy,
exhausted.
but I can't talk about any of it currently. So yeah, it's I would love for you to just have. Actually, I think right now you would be either, what are we, mid-April? So you'd be just half left Ultra in Miami. Perhaps finish a couple corporate work, but we could talk about
Yeah,
like
today,
how was Ultra
today,
this year.
yeah, it was a load-in day for I think a Dell Industrial. I think Dell World was meant to load in today.
Right.
Still had some calendar. I was like, oh, we didn't clean that up. Yeah, this would have been a nice load-in day. Um, but yeah, I mean, thankfully Dell World is still going to happen. It's just pushing to October and becoming one of those virtual events that I was talking about earlier, which is great. Um, thankfully we have stuff that we are still working on, and I think that it's probably a decent segue to discuss a little bit about the reality of where we are, where a lot of businesses in the production industry are right now, and what are you doing as a business? What are you doing as an individual with your career right now to sustain you for this undetermined amount of time that we're going to be sitting?
Certainly.
And the more we start to embrace the reality of it, the longer this really does become. I'm praying that I'm wrong, and I want to be proven wrong so badly, but I don't think we're going to see much of anything maybe until the fall. And in certain sectors of the industry, you're not going to see anything until 2021. Most of the major acts that had tours planned for this year have already had their contracts renegotiated and shifted to 2021.
Yeah.
That's done deal. It's already happened. We do have, obviously, there's hopes that there are a few festivals that will happen. But there's more reality to it than what people realize. October, I think we're meant to have Coachella and Electric Daisy Carnival on the West Coast happening. So you've got Coachella out in Indio, California, and then Electric Daisy Carnival here in the Las Vegas area.
Yeah.
What I can guarantee you is that with the campgrounds associated with those things alone, there is not enough heavy equipment to do both of those jobs at the same time in the United States. Doesn't exist. You can't do those festivals just based on that. So you have to you have to reinvent how you're going to be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other challenges when all of this stuff comes back that I don't think have really been gotten to the point of being able to be planned for appropriately. And when you start realizing that, okay, you then go, okay, well, do we push one of these events a little farther, or and at what point are we now pushing into the winter where no one really wants to be camping in the cold, and things are going to get a little too chilly at night. The desert at night in November is a hospitable place. You want to be out. And so do those events pivot themselves a little bit as to how they're going to handle it? Do they look now at hotel solutions for this from a very empty Las Vegas Strip where the tourism may be down? There are alternatives, and it's all in how you decide to start reinventing how you do these things.
Yeah.
One of the big pushes that we're doing right now is we're working on a specific project that I can't get too deep into, outside of the entertainment industry, while utilizing a lot of entertainment industry resources to provide stuff for government agencies and emergency services.
Yeah.
And we're looking at this going, all right, well, we've got a workforce that, next to the military, arguably above the military, is more efficient at doing certain jobs, has an ability, has the scale, because they're sitting around right now not doing anything. How can we utilize that and create jobs, get people back to work, get people being able to feed families again, and B, can we save lives in the process? What's coming down the pike? Are we looking at a second wave of this pandemic, which I think we can agree is fairly inevitable once we get things back up and running, and the sooner we get that back up and running, that reality becomes worse. There are so many unknowns that it's almost impossible to plan for, but the one thing that you do know is that nothing's happening for us for a very long time.
Yeah.
How can I start reinventing myself to pivot into a new lane, and potentially a lane of service that can be helpful for not just yourself and your family, but potentially for mankind, for your entire community. So there's a lot of little things like that are going on.
Looking forward to hear about that when it materializes more in a more public fashion.
It's very much in the planning stages at this point, and obviously with the people that are involved with it, we can't really discuss it. But some of the other things that we've been doing, like with the farm, we're stuck with shitloads of gaming computers.
Yeah,
they're all blinged out. They're sitting there doing nothing. We shifted all of those machines and devoted them 100% to the folding at home.
Folding at home, nice
project. So all of those computers are right now devoted to research for various medical industries, and that's something I highly encourage anyone that has the ability to do. If you've got computers sitting around, nothing would make me happier than to be able to go into a rental house with hundreds of media servers sitting there doing nothing right now, and set up with this project and cranking them out to provide what ultimately amounts to the largest supercomputer on Earth,
right?
To help crunch the numbers to fight a lot of these diseases. For those that don't know about the foldingathome.org campaign, basically I think it started out of Stanford University. It's now run
I think so.
out of and it's computer network processing. It's as simple as that. But what the students and professors have done is they've devoted all of this processing to helping crunch the numbers on finding cures for cancer, Huntington's disease, Alzheimer's, obviously COVID-19, and a slew of others. And they do a very super secure little software packet that launches on your machine. It could not be any easier. And you set up a little account. You can join a team of other people that if you want to be part of a team, because they compete for points and just have a a friendly competition with how much percentage of processing
Yeah.
they work on. It's very cool, and you can choose the thing you want to devote your computers to. If you've got someone in your life that is battling cancer and you want to put your computers devoted just to cancer research, you can choose that. If you want to, choose something for Alzheimer's, whatever that may be. The only one that they don't have right now that you can choose from is COVID-19, because obviously everybody just sort of clicks on that by default. So they're allocating that within their own right. But it's a fantastic organization. It's particularly great for people in our industry that have these resources sitting there doing fuck all right now. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, there's a variety of industry teams. There's I know these guys, D3 Technologies has a team, Hippo has a team as well. There's a number of AI power users that have a number of machines also doing that as well. I heard, I think WYSIWYG has also another team of Falling at Home, and you can join these teams if you go on Facebook, do a little bit of poking. Everyone's advertising hey, join our team, which is again a great use for idle technology right now.
Absolutely, yeah, it's really good. And so there are these little things that you can do to help that either cost little or no money at all, and if you can't use those resources right now, you should absolutely be throwing them at that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And then really spending the time figuring out what the hell you're going to do next, because the decision you're making today is going to decide your immediate future, and people need to pivot quick. We're all coming back to the entertainment industry. It's just going to take a minute.
Sure.
But we may be sitting for a very long time. So, unless you're independently wealthy and can ride this out and don't give a shit, okay, great, sit around and eat bonbons, all smoke cigarettes, and be kept man. But I don't have that luxury, so I can come up with something. I think most people are in the same boat.
Absolutely.
So it's tough. It's not an easy thing. And I think we're facing what's going to be a lot of hard reality and tough love right now. This is not going to be conducive for those of us in the arts who are of artistic temperament. I think it's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be a little tough on this one. It's not gonna be fun.
Certainly.
And you gotta come up with new ways to reinvent yourself. Which you all reinvent shows for a living. You reinvent new creative ideas every day.
The ultimate creative challenge.
Yourself into a client and start flipping your script right now, because you need it.
You get clienty.
Yeah, to get clienty.
Get clienty quick. Patrick, it's been an hour, and I really have to. We have to run at this point. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming for 3 times in a row.
We finally did it.
There's apparently you have to just restart the software right before starting a session.
Oh well, there you go. Well, at least we know.
Again, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to try to do this again in the future, preferably sooner than later, and perhaps have a conversation that's more centered around creativity and because again, I am not only a big fan of just working with you, but I am a big fan of your work. So I'm looking forward to have a more creative conversation in the future.
I'd love to. Thank you very much for having me on there.
Thank you, Patrick. And thank you for everyone that joined in. If you guys have any questions, we did go on long tangents, so go ahead and send it on the comments, and we will be updating this. If you have any questions for Patrick, you can reach him on the activity website, I'm sure. But if you want something perhaps a little softer, you can comment right here. I'll make sure to send those to Patrick's and post them in the Sims thread. Again, Patrick, thank you so much.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.